This is Hiring on All Cylinders. Live from HR Tech. Hello again, my dear, sweet, wonderful HR and recruiting pros. Hiring on All Cylinders takes to the ether once more from HR Tech in the most salubrious confines of McCormick Place in Chicago, Illinois. For this next episode is an extra special one. I am joined by my CEO and co-founder of the beloved employer of mine, Entelo Incorporated, Jon Bischke. So thanks for being here.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me on.
So we have a pretty big announcement that I'm excited for you to lead off with. But first, do we want to get to that, or can this go ahead and be like my skip level interview now that I have you?
You're done, man. You're done. You don't have to do another skip level for another quarter.
I have a lot of feedback on our CMO. Then I figured this is probably the best time to share it.
Publicly.
Exactly.
At HR Tech.
For all to hear. But yeah, we have a lot of exciting developments in the Entelo front. I was hoping you could walk us through that.
Yeah, so the big thing that we're announcing this week at HR Tech is the launch of our mobile app for Stack. And one of the things with mobile Stack is that we believe that the way that people process resumes currently is broken. And this is no fault of their own. It's just, the world's changed and the world now is mobile and on the go, and people want to be able to do things from their phone wherever they are. And the reality is, for most people, they can't do a lot around the applicants coming in on their phones. So we decided to change that. So we partner with the leading applicant tracking system companies, and what we do is we make it dead simple, easy for you to, first of all, figure out when a good applicant comes in. So we'll send you a push notification when a top applicant applies. So recruiters then can turn that around very quickly versus letting someone sit in their ATS for a few days or a couple of weeks and honestly losing out the edge to the competition on that candidate. And then once you have your applicants in, then you can take a look at them on your phone. You can see all the information about them the same way you would in the ATS. And then we decided to mimic an interface that a number of people know pretty well, Tinder. And you can swipe left, and swiping left will reject the candidate. And that whole thing is all set up ahead of time, so they get a rejection template just the same way you'd reject them in your ATS. Or, of course, you can swipe right. And swipe right will move them to the next stage in your process. And that might be a phone screen or an on-site interview or something else. And so that ability to go through hundreds of resumes and swipe left, swipe right very, very quickly, we believe represents a quantum improvement in productivity for recruiters when they process inbound. So we're really excited about it. It's part of the Stack product. So all of our customers will get access to the mobile app. The mobile app's in the App Store. You could download it, but if you're not a customer of Stack, it's not really going to do you a lot of good. But we're excited by it, and we've seen a lot of great feedback, and people are really fired up about the fact that I can be on the go. I can be, in line at the bank. I guess people don't wait in the bank anymore, but I can be in line somewhere, and Starbucks, for example, in front of us, and I can be literally moving candidates forward in my pipeline, and that's huge.
A minute ago, I didn't want to cut you off because you were flying.
No, that's fine.
But a minute ago, you said when a top applicant comes through. Mm-hmm. How does Entelo know? What's a top applicant?
Yeah, so what Stack does is Stack works with companies to identify who the best fit applicants are. And it's done both using technology that we've built that works across the board, and also a company's inputs that they know who's a good fit for roles that they're trying to fill. So for example, a company might say, we've had really good luck hiring out of these 10 companies in the past. People that we've hired out of those 10 companies have been really good fits for us. So when an applicant comes through from one of those 10 companies, that person gets a slight boost in the algorithm. And so we look at a lot of different data points, a lot of the same things that recruiters would look at when they look at a resume. And what we're doing is we're loosely bucketing those people into groups, and we're saying green are the people that are really strong fits based on our data and what companies have told us. Yellow are kind of on the fence, right? You may want to look at them, but if you don't have enough time in the day, probably skip through the yellows pretty quick. And the reds are ones where there's something about their resume, their skill set, their experience levels that just don't seem to make them a good fit. Right. And if a company wants to look at every single resume, hey, knock yourself out. But at the end of the day, if you have a limited time, start with the greens. Most people process their resumes either chronologically when someone applied to work at your company, or alphabetically, because that's how ATSs sort the resume.
Right.
And the reality is you should start with the best fit candidate and work your way down the list. And if you get interrupted, if you run out of time, and you don't get to that person at the very bottom, the world doesn't come to an end. But what if the person at the bottom, their name starts with Z? Well, the way you process resumes today, you might have missed that candidate. So that's really what we're trying to help recruiters with.
the theme of this show has very much been AI. Everyone is talking about it. And Frank, a moment ago, Frank Strava from Strativa, was saying that one of the applications he foresaw for AI and HR was, he said, I wish there was some way you could sort resumes for these companies that have tons and tons. And I was like, well, funny you should mention that. Like, it's exactly what we have. But with Stack Mobile, you don't even have to be drowning in resumes for it to work for you, because talent moves so quickly. When a top performer, when a top applicant comes through, you need to action them immediately. And so even if you're only getting 10 applications a week, like being able to take action right away from the line at Starbucks is a huge difference.
Absolutely.
maker.
I mean, speed is competitive advantage, right? If you get back to an applicant more quickly, you ultimately have advantage over everybody else who lets that resume sit in their ATS for 2 weeks. So what Stack is doing is it's dramatically increasing productivity. It's a much easier workflow, and a workflow that you could be on a boat, on a plane, in a car. You could basically be anywhere, and you could be triaging inbound resumes. And then we are applying data science and machine learning to help people identify more quickly who the best fits are. So you combine all those technologies together, and we literally believe, and it's early, we just launched this week, but we believe it's the potential is there for a 10x increase in productivity. What might have taken a recruiter 10 hours to do in the past, they might be able to do in an hour with Stack. And if you multiply that across all the recruiters and a larger company, I mean, this could be millions and millions of dollars in savings for a lot of organizations. So we're excited about the app. We're excited about Stack as a platform on the whole, and just looking to get it in front of as many people as we can this week.
I love it. I've been asking everyone this, so I'm going to ask you as well. What are you most excited about in the next year of in terms of HR technology?
Well, I think, so you are seeing a lot about big data and AI and machine learning, and I think part of that this week is hype, right? It's the marketing team deciding to insert AI last minute into the presentation or put it up in the, in the show floor booth. But I do think that the companies that are doing real work with data science, that's exciting, and there's a handful of them out there, and you can look up anybody, you can background check them, you can see how many data scientists they have on their team, how many people they have that actually have expertise with machine learning. You can kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. But the reality is the companies that are investing in data science, in predictive analytics, in machine learning, I think are going to change this industry over not just the next year, but the next decade. And most of the companies on the show floor today don't do anything with that. And I think you're going to see a new wave of companies come in, a next generation of winners, and I'm super excited about that.
I love it. Entelo Stack Mobile is a game changer. Jon, thanks so much for joining me.
Rob, always a pleasure.